everyone, welcome to the Immortality podcast. As always, I'm your host Jake here with Josh.
Hello.
Hi, Josh. Today we have we've done a couple of these teas before. I have another rock oolong for you guys. Rock oolong, of course, is a fairly deep category. We've talked about them a little in the past. Just to remind everyone, or for anyone who doesn't know, rock oolongs are supposed to come from a certain area of China, the Wuyishan Nature Reserve, in or around it in Fujian, China. It's a historically famous tea region, protected now by the Chinese government. It's considered a national heritage site. Lots and lots of tea comes from here, mostly oolong, some very good black teas too, though, occasionally other things. But historically, the oolongs are the most famous kinds of tea this area produces. So let's get into it. Again, as always, I will heat the vessels and rinse the tea. This is Trident Oolong.
I don't think I've had this one.
Yeah. And this one is fairly special. It's actually a clipping of one of the original Hong Pao bushes. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's get this tea fired up. So let's smell it. This one's a very, very classic Wuyi Oolong profile. It's very, very mineral in the aroma. Earth, right? Like
Yeah, it's got that earth, cavey.
Yeah, cavey.
Like I was thinking about when you walk into a cave, that kind of earth and like rock smell.
So I'm just rinsing here. We're gonna throw this out. But look how dark that is already for anyone watching the video here.
Wow.
That's like deep purple, like brown.
I mean, it's almost like a deep crimson red.
Yeah. Wet leaf smell. That's much sweeter than the dry leaf smell. There's like kind of like a wet, like a dank, oily quality to it. I'm not sure exactly how to describe it. It's floral.
And there's definitely a sweet fruit in there. Mm-hmm. Like now the fruitiness is coming out.
Yeah, this one's pretty fruit forward too. But this is a classic profile. Like this is basically as kind of middle of the road, like straight. This is kind of as straight down the middle as you get for this kind of tea.
So what you'd say, this is a good kind of place to start for anyone who's drinking a rock oolong.
I think this is a good reference point, yeah, because like I was saying at the start here. So this is actually a clipping of one of the original Hong Pao bushes. I'll have to tell you the story of that. Let's just taste this. So this is very intense, very very intense mineral profile. Pretty well roasted too, slightly drying even. But not without like a sweet, dank fruit quality and floral characteristics. God, this one just sits so heavy on the palate.
You know, it's funny because while I was listening to you, I was thinking of a description, and it's almost like a rock and some type of dried fruit had a baby.
Yeah.
And then
it's perfect.
It's like this minerally, fruity cinnamon baby.
I think I have like plum as like my descriptor on the website, like osmanthus flowers, plum, and gravel is like my were my keywords for this, but
gravel, yeah,
pretty much because it's like even chalky like that, like and this is not. I'm not saying this in a bad way. I'm saying this in a good way. Like this is like on the previous episode when we had the Taiwanese oolong. I was talking about the importance of how a tea feels on the mouth, like in the palate. Like this feels like heavy. Like this feels chalky and dense.
Of the teas we definitely drank, this is one of the heaviest, probably from the last 3 to 5 episodes.
Yeah,
the liquid actually just feels heavier. But then I think you can see it.
Mouth.
Well, I think that's funny too because these rock oolongs have this drying quality because of the roast. For some reason, it's almost like it's the charcoal's pulling out liquid. But maybe that's not it.
Oh, it's a little like frou-frou, but I think it's legitimate. Like. It's you have to like test it against your experience, So the original Hong Pao trees, they're still around in the Wuyi area. They're like marked off, roped off. Like you can like look up a picture, just like type like Hong Pao bushes, and you'll see like these kind of like set of just a few bushes with like some like with like a big carved engraved sign under them. And those tea from those, it's not, they're not actually plucked anymore. The bushes are so old and so overpicked at this point. As they were plucked, it was like some of the most valuable tea in the world. People would pay just thousands and thousands of dollars like for just like a taste of that tea because of the pedigree it has. It goes back several hundred years to like the beginnings of tea in the Wuyi area. The story is that someone fell ill, near those bushes, and a monk came, made them tea from those bushes, and he basically got better. And then actually went on to like have like a string of good luck afterwards, which he attributed the tea to. And then he told other people about that, and like the emperor at the time caught on, and like also used the tea for medicinal purposes to like, I think, cure his daughter or someone. And so it has this reputation as, tea of course was originally a medicine, like before it was like a beverage to be enjoyed. But this has a special reputation as a medicine too.
I realized as you were telling the story, just the placement of where that original Da Hong Pao bush was living. Maybe it was living next to this like rocky landscape.
It's on a cliff. It's literally on a cliff.
So it's absorbing different type of minerals than if it was grown like in a flat field in the Midwest or something. It's literally extracting minerals that humans probably can't naturally break down in their body, and it's making them like, it's putting that into the growth structure of the plant.
Sure, and probably. I mean, you can certainly taste that.
It's minerally. It definitely is, but in a good way. Like, when I drink these teas, I feel like my body goes up one level in my immune system.
Yeah, these are hearty. I love drinking these on like a cold day. They're so warming. Like it just really like makes you feel like you can like deal with anything like that, like the weather can throw at you.
With the Da Hong Pao bush, what happened that eventually spread it to become rock oolong? People just started taking cuttings and then placing them.
Well, the rock oolongs are like pretty much any tea from like that area, but it's a fairly small area. Like I said, it's one park, like one reserve. I think it's about 50 square kilometers. Don't quote me on that though.
I like drinking tea from there because I feel like I'm getting nature energy from this nature preserve. Yeah, and there's just something really nice about the flavor.
So this is, yes, like I was saying, this particular one, the Chidon cultivar itself is a clipping from one of those bushes. So it's not one of those bushes. It will taste different because it's grown in a different location in Wuyi. This is the significance of terroir and like the minute differences that you get. You can move this just a couple miles and it's going to taste like a different tea, even though it's the same. It's like genetically an identical plant. So this one's from Tian, which translates to heavenly heart rock. So for all of our rock oolongs, we try to pinpoint the location as much as we can. And I'm talking about, specific areas, like just like a rock or a gorge or a cave or one hill. Like that's how specific it gets. And this is what connoisseurs of rock oolong look for, not just the varietal of tea plant that they're drinking, but where exactly in the park it comes from. Because these things make a difference, right? If it's in a gorge, it gets more shade and it tastes different. If it's out in the open, it gets more sun. If it's by a stream, it gets more water. If it's on a cliff, it gets more minerals. Like this all matters.
What's funny is before I started on my rock oolong journey, which probably started a couple years ago, you and Peter were both there for it. And as I started to drink them, I was like, wait a minute, I really like what that taste is. Where does that come from? And then starting to associate the flavors with the environment. And even now, I've got one oolong tea that's on the Trident Tea website. And I really like it because it's grown on like a peak. It's just like the northest peak of the mountain.
Which one is that?
I think it's called North Peak or North
Star.
North Star.
That's another clipping from one of the original bushes. I think it's a different bush and again different growing location, so similar.
Yeah, but it's like
different.
On a peak, exactly like you said, and there's a flavor associated with that. So it is very real, and it's some people might say that you are benefiting from the area where the bush is grown because maybe it's absorbing extra mountain energy, or in this case, extra mountain minerals. Versus a tea that has a lot of water that's grown by a stream.
Yeah. So the area again, Tianshin Yan. If you do like a rough Chinese translation, you kind of have an idea. So like yan is like rock. So it's grown this is growing in a rockier area with more sun generally, and that's I think like why it's a little heavier than some other teas.
So like a rocky valley, a rocky gorge, or just a rocky.
Yeah, I think this one is supposed to be like rockier, drier, more sunlight than other ones.
I like the name, the Chi Don. I want to call it like the Dawn of Chi
Yeah,
Teas.
yeah.
The tea,
Oh my god.
the Don Chi Tea.
I like to talk about like everything that goes into tea and all the factors that go into making the taste. That's the cultivar, of course, Chidan.
Well, what a great place! Like my
Yeah.
tea was grown in Heavenly Heart Rock.
Yeah, oh, and these all have like some like pretty sick names. There's like Ghost Cave and like
Ghost Cave is specifically tasty.
North Star Peak. They're pretty cool. They're pretty cool sounding. But then there's also the processing, right? So like let's talk about the processing a little. This one was roasted 3 times, medium heat. So ours, the ones we get at Trident tend to be roasted a little more than other ones. The farmer actually does that for us. She gives ours a little bit more of a roast because she knows that we will rest them for a year, like you're supposed to. Some places will buy the fresh harvest and then like sell it. They take through the summer to finish. So they're harvested usually in April or May. But then like the resting takes a few more months. So they're usually ready by around this time of year, like the late summer to the fall. When I had this tea at first, I did not like it. I'll be honest. Like it tasted like a cheap over roasted da Hong Pao to me. But now it's rested. This was harvested in 2019. So this one is over 2 years old. And I think just because of how heavy it is and how much it was roasted, it was too much. Like I couldn't really taste like the tea. I just tasted the roast. But now that it's rested, I can like really, really taste the complexities. And I was surprised when I had this recently. It's like, oh, this was my least favorite one, and now it's like one of my favorite ones.
That's a good thing to note too, so that when you are on the website, because you will see 2019, 2020.
I do date these ones, yeah.
I think it's smart because it's again, this is the wine portion of the tea, where it's like aging fine wine or like aging your bottle of scotches. There's just more flavor that comes out sometimes.
We do actually set aside small amounts of each year's harvest. We've been doing that for about the past 5 years to age. So I don't know if those will ever be made available to the general public. Maybe for certain customers. We do have some very nice aged oolong available. 2012 Wuyishan. I have a few of these in my personal collection that I'm just set aside, will not touch for like another year or two. I usually like to wait till around like 5 or 7 years, and they get like really, really good.
And that's for the rock oolongs?
For the rock oolongs, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, rock oolong aging. I guess we've talked a little about like aged tea before. We've had a couple poor teas that had some age. We had that aged white, I remember. Rock oolongs are a little different. Like you don't need to. There's no like fermentation that's happening. Like nothing is like. There's not like microbial activity that's happening, but they are like resting, and there's like further oxidation that's happening naturally. So they're cleaning out. They're like there's probably some amount of like breaking down the leaves just naturally over time, which changes the flavor. But I really enjoy a nice aged rock oolong. It's just an exquisite experience.
How old do you think the tree was that the leaves came from? Or do you think it's an older bush tree?
I think most of the bushes, the bushes don't get super old in Wuyi. They're not like the Yunnan tea trees that just like live hundreds of years. But like 60 to 80 years is like a good guess. I think like it's like natural older bushes. They are like semi-cultivated. They grow in like a really pristine environment, but they are like people are able to like farm in the so there are like tea fields, and like they're very small tea fields or like plots of like tea bushes.
The pictures are really kind of cool because it's like the tea plot could vary in sizes, but it's always next to a rock or like between like, a valley or something. And then the rocks are right in there. And then sometimes you just see photos with like tea bushes hanging off the side of cliffs and stuff.
Like, don't pick this idiot property of so-and-so. Some Chinese farmer with a shotgun's like waiting there.
You definitely need a ladder to harvest that one.
Yeah, I know. If you haven't look at pictures of Wuyishan, it's beautiful. It's deep gorges, valleys, like big stone spires. So that's a lot of what's behind the variation, right? Like microclimates, specific gorges, like specific waterways, like different elevations, different like geological features. And there's like, of course, like over 100 like distinct cultivars too. So you could probably spend your whole life just drinking rock oolongs and like be surprised every day.
What steep are we on?
I think the 4th or the 5th. These don't go particularly long in steeping. Not as long as like a Taiwanese oolong or like a bald oolong or specifically a pu'er. It's more about like the intensity of like the upfront few steepings and like the evolution and maybe like the first like 5 or 6.
I can definitely tell the flavors mellowing out, and then it's going more towards like a nice spice, like not cinnamon or like not nutmeg, but just that general spice feeling.
You can tell just how like strong the minerality is in this tea because like that's what's lasting here. Like it's not quite as like fruity or floral as in the first steep or two, but it still has such a strong character.
Yeah, the mineral is still there.
And yeah, these teas they feel very nourishing to me. Like they really like there's something very strengthening about them.
I feel like I've said it before, but I'll say it again. This is one of the Taoists' favorite teas.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
It is because it's a very classical style of tea. It's Wuyishan, like probably maybe the most famous like tea producing region in the world.
And then just for like minerals, our modern day lifestyle doesn't have as many minerals that were available in like some of these previous generations' diets. And so when you taste that mineralness, it's almost like your body wants it because it knows it kind of needs it. Again, that's why I really started to gravitate towards these teas and just put them in the rotation,
I am so excited for fall weather and drinking my rock oolongs. Like honestly, because these are. I mean, don't get me wrong. These are great any time of year, but they just slap so hard in the fall. It's like exactly what I want.
A very cold day when you're sitting inside and you've got something to read or even work. Just one of these, and all of a sudden it turns on that. Yeah.
Like, I feel good.
Oh yeah, the energy of this tea is good too. I feel like a lot of it up in the head and the chest, but it's not tweaky or racy. It's just kind of jolly in a way.
Yeah, it is.
So, what are some of your favorite rock oolongs?
My favorite rock oolongs, Tilohan is always one of them. That one tends to have, in my experience, like is strong but with like a good stone fruit profile. That's what I like to look for. On the other hand, I really like the Baijiguan white coxcomb, which is very different from the Tilohan. It's like not fruity at all, but it's like it's more earth and like kind of weird old flavors. It's a lot lighter. Some people don't like that one. I really like it. This one I think strikes a pretty good balance. It's probably a little closer to the Tilohan. It's dark, it's fruity, but there's definitely like good notes of like cave and like oak and wood and like antique leather and stuff like that.
Is the old bush duck shit a rock oolong, or is that
no? Those are Dankongs. So they're from a province over. Most of those are Wuyi cultivars though, so related. But like they're from Guangdong instead of Fujian, the Phoenix Mountains.
Okay. Well, and then in that case, then I think my favorite is definitely one of the North Star. And then
North Star is great.
There's also a dark side oolong.
Sure.
Yeah, or a dark side one. And
what is I can't remember the Chinese for that one.
But it was definitely like because it was grown in the shadows, I think. And
Bujian Tian, that's that one.
Yeah.
Dark Side was a very rough translation.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no worries. Or Shadowed Side or whatever.
I think it literally translates to like where the sun don't shine. Like,
yeah, nice.
Well, which just means it was grown in a shady area.
Yeah, and you could taste it. That one was definitely like comparative to even like this one. Just different, and like that one really. But then also the Rogue is that
Rogue
one?
is great.
Rogue was just the cinnamon.
That means cinnamon, yeah.
Yeah, it's just beautiful. And then the other two that you mentioned, those were on the list. If the listeners are liking what they're hearing, where can they find this tea and other really amazing rock oolongs from?
Yeah. So as always, you can find this one at tridentcafe.com/teas under the oolong section. I will say I'm particularly proud of our rock oolong selection. We have quite a few different ones, all very different from each other. So it's a great place to start. Just order some rock teas. I'll probably shoot you a couple samples of like similar things. Read the descriptions, like whatever appeals to you. But again, like that, this is something I take a lot of pride in. And the 2020 harvest is coming on soon. We still only have the 2019s on there. I think we ran out of 2018. Soon, yeah, we'll start putting up the last year's harvest. And again, we always rest them for a year because the roast is so aggressive. Fresh rock teas, like roasted this heavily, are a little unpleasant. So always look for harvest dates. Even if you're not buying from us, make sure you're looking at the harvest date that you're getting. These teas, you want them to be rested, unlike green and white teas, which you prefer to be fresh.
And then when you say roasted heavy, would you say that roasted heavy means it was roasted up to 4 times, and then maybe like normal average rock oolongs that you'll find in the world might be roasted 1 or 2 times?
Yeah,
like,
I think like if you're not resting them, like, then yeah, you don't want more than a 2 times roast. A 3 times roast is a lot, and again, you want to rest those. But it's going to be better down the line. It's going to give it more character, especially if you age it for like 5 or 7 years.
So how would you suggest this tea to people before we continue drinking?
I think this is a great entry point into rock oolongs, again, just because of like how classic the profile is. Very heavy rock, mineral, fruit flavor, some light floral characteristics. This is exactly what you want. And then you can get into the weird ones, like I was saying, the Bai Guan and like the Beidou, the North Star, like the ones that are a little more unconventional. And I think these are great for health. I've said in the past, like, I drink these when I'm like sick a lot, like have like a cold or a flu. I drink coffee almost every day, but I don't drink coffee when I'm sick. I want tea, because tea is medicine, right? Specifically, rock oolongs are great. And if you're also a person who has trouble with colder weather, I would recommend these. I really, really believe it like helps my body like make the transition into like the colder time of the year.
Yeah, I definitely like them for that reason as well.
Okay, well, everyone, thanks for joining us once again. I'm your host, Jake. I've been here with Josh. Hope you enjoyed the show, and I will see you next time.
May your tea drinking adventures be tasteful.